Vance Walker reminding us again why he's considered one of the best. Now watch. Launch back. Got it! Nice! Got it!
Woo. He is determined. He is determined.
Akbar, you see he's grabbing high up on the sign to make the throw a little shorter. Come on, Vance!
Matt, that row sign just said the buzzer is that way because that's exactly where he's going.
Yes!
Oh my goodness!
Vance Walker does it!
Oh my goodness!
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for two-time American Ninja Warrior champion, Vance Walker!
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, and thank all of you for your service. So, I'm not your typical speaker. I'm not an expert in small businesses here to teach you how to do something. I'm just a guy who's overcome a lot of obstacles in my life, and I'm here to talk to you about how I did it. So my name is Vance Walker, and the video you just saw is me clearing stage 3 and the finale of American Ninja Warrior. Now, if you've never seen it, Ninja Warrior is a competition where you have to conquer 4 different obstacle courses or stages that each test a different set of skills. Clearing stage 3 means that I have a chance to climb a 75-foot rope in under 30 seconds for $1 million, something that only 3 people have ever accomplished in the 18 years that American Ninja Warrior has been on air. After training for half of my life, I've just reached the pinnacle of my sport, and I have a shot at greatness, a shot at $1 million, and I'd be the youngest to ever do it by over 10 years. My life looks pretty great, right? Well, as you can probably guess, it wasn't always like that. When I was 17 months old, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and was told I might never even be able to walk on my own, and especially not be in the final stage of American Ninja Warrior. So how did I overcome the odds? And what's stopping you? Everyone faces obstacles in life, whether it's personal or in running a business. But I literally face obstacles for a living, and I have my whole life. And these are the key principles that I've lived by. First is always remember your why. I can't even tell you how many times I was doing a hard workout and wanting to throw up because it was so horrible. But every time I remembered why I was doing it, and what it was all for, it was easy to keep going. Next is the most important, but it's also the most difficult, and that's do whatever it takes. My mom taught me this step, and it's probably the most important thing I've ever learned. No matter how difficult things seemed, and no matter how long it was going to take, I was never willing to give up on myself. So my story starts when my mom went into labor with me at 17 weeks, or about 23 weeks early. My dad was out of town, about to go into a meeting, when he got a call saying that I wasn't going to make it. And he immediately hopped on a flight to Houston, Texas, where my mom spent the next 4 months in the hospital and labor the entire time. Every single week that passed by, my chances of surviving got a little bit better, and eventually, about a month premature, I finally made it out. It took me long enough. Now, my first few months of life looked pretty normal, and it wasn't until I started trying to walk that we finally noticed some issues. I would either be walking on my knees, or I'd be standing up with my hands holding onto something, screaming with my toes curled under my feet. And I mean, I was walking on top of my toes. So eventually we went and got it checked out, and at 17 months old, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and was told I might never be able to walk without braces on my legs. Now, cerebral palsy is a neurological condition that affects a person's ability to move, muscle tightness, and posture. It can affect one half of the body or your whole body. For me, it's mostly in my legs. And symptoms can include lack of muscle coordination, stiffer tight muscles, and exaggerated reflexes. I have spastic diplegia, so my legs are super tight and twitchy. So we went and got these custom braces fitted, and I would wear these 24 hours a day, every single day, and that mechanism on the side there would constantly pull my toes up, stretching my calves. It would constantly hurt and annoy me, but I couldn't walk without them. I always wore long socks to cover them up and look more normal, and I still wear long socks to this day, because I was always bullied for being different and picked on for being the kid with the braces. I would have done anything to just be a normal kid. But I had a choice, and so do all of you. I could either listen to what everyone else was saying about me, listen to everyone telling me I couldn't do it, and believe that, or I could believe in myself. Every time we would get a new pair of braces fitted, my mom had her own tool that she made, and she would tighten that mechanism on the side even farther, have it stretch even more than the doctors did when we got home. She wasn't willing to take no for an answer. She made the choice to believe in me. She would always be stretching my legs while I'm screaming my head off, and she'd ask if it hurts, and I'd scream, yes, and she'd say, good, that means it's working. We were going to do whatever it took to get me walking, and that gave me the mindset I've had ever since. The most important thing I've ever learned, whatever it takes. Our why was to give me even just a chance at being able to walk and to live a normal childhood, and that made all the extra work easy. I've never known a life outside of having to put that extra work in. It was always hard being different than everyone else. I just wanted to fit in. But I never believed the things that people were telling me because I was going to do whatever it takes to make my dreams come true. When I was 7 years old, I wore those braces for the last time. We had worked so hard and stretched so much that I was finally given the choice. I could either keep wearing the braces forever or take the stretching into my own hands with the risk that if I don't do enough, it will get worse and I might never have the chance to walk without them again. So ever since that day, I've done whatever it took to make my dreams come true with everything on the line. Whatever it took to walk, whatever it took to run and compete, and whatever it took to win. So growing up, I tried basically every sport there was, but there was always something holding me back. I started off with karate, and I couldn't do the high kick. I can't even lift my leg up to 90 degrees. That's as high as it goes. I tried soccer, and I couldn't twist my leg out to hit the ball with the inside of my foot. Cerebral palsy, spastic diplegia, my knees want to go in. I couldn't twist my leg out. And then I tried football, and football was always my dream. Growing up, we watched every single Longhorns game. My mom went to Texas A&M, and my dad went to UT, so you can probably imagine how competitive my house was growing up. So every single Thanksgiving, my entire family would go to my grandma's house in College Station. She's right there. And we would all be watching the game, and everyone would be cheering for the Aggies except for my dad. But he was also the loudest person in the whole room, so you could still hear him crying every time we cheered for an Aggies touchdown. So the games would always either end in my dad bragging to us about UT winning or him hiding in the bathroom crying, but every single day we ended in a giant family football game outside. So growing up in Texas gave me that competitive spirit and also a love for football, which I was actually pretty good at. I could run, I could catch, and I was fast. But I couldn't stay out on the field the whole game. If I'm running or even just standing up for too long, my legs get really tight and painful and even cramped to the point where I can't even sleep. They're twitching pretty bad right now, but you can't see it because I'm wearing a suit. But that meant I couldn't do football. Then I tried baseball, and I was just really bad at baseball. There wasn't a good reason for it. But I tried all these sports, and nothing really stuck. I couldn't find anything that I was good at, and I still didn't fit in. But everyone has something they're good at, even if they don't know it yet, and what I found next would change my life forever. When I was 10 years old, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I know we had to leave Texas. But we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to a camp at a Ninja Warrior gym, and it was the best one in the entire country. Now, these aren't like your typical gyms with weights on the floor and machines everywhere. No, these gyms have replicas of obstacles from Ninja Warrior, and I couldn't do any of them. But this was like a giant playground to me, and I still loved my first time doing Ninja Warrior, even though I don't think I finished a single obstacle that day. But that day, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. So the second I got home, I made my mom sign me up for a membership. After trying every single sport there was and nothing working out, I was going to make this work, whatever it takes. And a year and a half later, I won my first national championship. Thank you. The kid with cerebral palsy, told he might never be able to walk on his own, always made fun of in school, just won a national championship. And now I had that little taste of being the best, that little taste of proving everyone wrong. And it just made me want it that much more. I had finally found what I was good at, and I started to meet people with the same goals in mind and started to make my first real lifelong friends. At the gym, we started this group called Team Quest with me and my best friends, and every single weekend we would be at each other's houses playing games and eventually training in our backyards. These were the best times of my life. I finally fit in. Now, there was no Ninja Warrior for kids yet, so I actually started a petition to make one and got every single person that I knew to sign it. Half of the names on there are me just making up names to make the list even longer. Sharky Fishbine sounds very real. So eventually, I made a YouTube channel and created my own Ninja Warrior for kids, and I applied for American Ninja Warrior when I was 12. The age limit was 21.
My name is Vance Walker from Marietta, Georgia. I am 12 years old, that is 21 backwards, and I am going to be the next American Ninja Warrior.
Thank you. So they picked me immediately after seeing that. And no, not really. They did not pick me after seeing that, but soon after they saw that masterpiece, they created American Ninja Warrior Junior when I was 13 years old, and I applied immediately. But after being bullied my whole childhood, I didn't want having cerebral palsy to be my whole story. I didn't want that to be all I was, so I didn't even mention it. I was super shy, and I could not talk in front of anybody, and especially to a camera. But luckily, I was pretty good at Ninja, so the producers actually reached out and told me to submit another video with more personality. I took like 20 different takes, but there was still something missing. I needed a nickname. Growing up, my grandpa, who's also a veteran small business owner, he's right there in the crowd, he would always be watching Chuck Norris. So we thought of the name Walker, Texas Ninja, because my last name's Walker. I was born and raised in Texas, still a Texan at heart. And I guess that was exactly what we needed, because a couple weeks later, I got the call to compete. The kid with the braces on his legs was going to be competing on American Ninja Warrior Junior. Now, if you remember from earlier, Ninja Warrior has 4 different stages that each test a different set of skills, right? All of my training and every competition I'd ever done up to this point was that format. And we get on set, and it's a racing speed course. So I was the most prepared for the wrong format. This was completely out of my comfort zone. I step up for the first race, and I win up by 0.2 seconds in the first race of the competition. Not looking good. I keep winning race after race, and eventually I get to the finale, and I'm going against the same kid I got top 2 with in my first national championship. 13 years old, my first ever time competing on the show, and $15,000 on the line. This was the most important moment of my life so far. We're neck and neck the entire race, and on the final obstacle, I barely pull ahead and hit the buzzer first. I had just won American Ninja Warrior Junior. At 13 years old, over half of my life was spent wearing those braces up to this point. And then the next season I came back and did it again, and I'm the only person to ever do it twice. But I still had the 4 stages to conquer. So you might be wondering, how do you train for something like this? Well, my training actually has to start before I even get on the obstacles. If I even walk without stretching first, I pull muscles in my legs, so the first thing I do every day is stretch. Then there's hours of physical therapy every single week to prevent injuries and heal current ones, and hours of stretching to be able to even function. And then I put in hours at the gym every day on top of that, and even train things like flipping my sleep schedule, because the show actually films overnight. So one of the coolest things about Ninja Warrior is that we don't know the obstacles before we get there, and we don't get to try them beforehand. So when we're on the course, that's our first time ever seeing or touching any of the obstacles. So to prepare, I'll set up replicas of previous courses, and I'll train as much variety. I'll do as many variations as possible, so if and when there's a new obstacle, hopefully I've done something similar. I won the only 2 seasons of Ninja Junior I was on, and when I aged out, they actually lowered the age limit on the real show from 21 down to 15. So this meant that I could compete on the big show. the real American Ninja Warrior, my dream since I was 10 years old. So I switched back to training the 4 stages, and I'm working my butt off, going to the gym twice a day, training for over 4 hours a day to make sure I'm ready. And the second I get on set, my first ever time competing, the second I see it, I just start crying. I was finally doing it. The competition hadn't even started yet, but I was just so happy to even be there. The kid with the braces was living out his dream, and I wanted it more than anyone else did. Now, there's actually 2 rounds of competition to qualify for the 4 stages. This one is 6 obstacles, ending with a chance to go for the mega warped wall at the end. You get 1 shot for $10,000. My first time on the show, I'm as nervous as you can possibly be, and I make it to the mega wall. I start running, and you can hear my shoe squeak as I trip on my first step. But I somehow recover and wrap my hand around the top, one of only 4 people to get it all season, in my first ever time on the show, for $10,000. I make it to the next round, and I blow out the second fastest time by 1.5 minutes on a 5-minute course. So now I'm in the national finals, $1 million on the line, and I have a real shot. But in the national finals, if you even fall once, your season's over. I make it all the way to stage 3, the endurance course, and I'm feeling on top of the world. This is my strong suit right here. But I'm running first, and on a brand new course. I hadn't seen any of the obstacles done before, didn't get to try them beforehand, so I didn't really have a game plan. I make it all the way to this obstacle called Pipe Dream, and there's these big vertical poles that drop, and you have to go across them, and there's this gap about as far as I can spread my legs apart. Having cerebral palsy, this one was really hard for me, and I was stuck there for over 2.5 minutes. I finally make it through, but I have nothing left in me, and go down on the second to last obstacle, 20 feet from the rope climb, and a shot at $1 million. I made it the second farthest out of almost 500 competitors that were there. But with my first failure on Ninja Warrior, I have to wait a whole year to come back and try again. So I get back home and start training harder than I ever have before to make sure I don't gas out again. No matter what the course is, I'm gonna be strong enough. I'm feeling the strongest I've ever been, and then my gym shuts down. Right before that, my other grandpa passed away. And right before that, one of my best friends and training partners died in a motorcycle crash. I moved back to Texas to live with my grandma to be able to keep training for the next season, and when the show finally comes around, I'm feeling ready for redemption. I'm feeling strong, but I fall on a lower body flexibility obstacle. I felt like I was losing everything. My gym, my friends and family, and now Ninja Warrior. This sport was the first thing I ever felt like I was good at, and now, for the first time in my life, I felt hopeless. I lost the one place that felt like home, the place I made my first friends, the place I'd look forward to going to every day. It was just gone. I honestly considered giving up right here, but God had other plans for me. See, back on junior, I was so happy to even have a show to compete on, and my first season on the big show, I was literally crying just being a part of it. This last season, I didn't have that. I felt like I was only training to win, and I felt like a failure when I didn't. I was burnt out and couldn't even bring myself to do the thing I used to love. I made a lot of mistakes that season, but my biggest mistake was losing track of why I was doing it. See, I didn't start Ninja thinking I would win. I did it because it was fun. I do Ninja Warrior because I'm passionate about it. I love it, and I know I want it more than anyone else. I loved doing obstacles. I loved running courses, so why didn't I love it anymore? I was so focused on trying to win that I lost track of why I even started. And that got me thinking, why did you start? What is your goal? Why do you do it? And does what you're doing right now reflect that? I started Ninja because it was fun. I enjoyed it. I loved doing it. I'm passionate about it, and I really wanted this more than anyone else did. So I made my focus learning to have fun again and learning to enjoy being a part of the show even when I go out early. I started loving what I was doing again, and with the next season coming up, I didn't even feel nervous this time. I knew that I was going to win it all at some point. It didn't have to be right now. The key to getting back on track for me was starting small. When I'd be doing a hard workout and feeling the pain, I'd smile knowing it's part of the process. And instead of beating myself up for failing, I'd take small wins and build momentum. It can take you in an upward or a downward spiral, but the key to getting back on track for me was starting with these small wins. And I started with learning to enjoy my passion again. And that positive momentum kept rolling. So eventually I make it to the starting line for the next season, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous now. I hadn't hit a buzzer since my first season on the big show, and I just needed one to get that momentum back. So I jump up to the first obstacle, and I slam my knee into a pole. I get down and can barely walk. I slowly make my way through the rest of the course, and I make it back to the mega wall, which I now can't go for because I can barely walk. So I settle for the regular warped wall and finally get that buzzer. Now it's going down. I make it to the next round, fastest time again. I make it back to the finals, clear stage 1, clear stage 2. Now I'm back on stage 3. And I've been waiting for this moment. After my first season, I swore I would never fall here again. I have so much more confidence on the obstacles this time, and even though I'm only running second, I had every move perfectly planned out. I make it back to Pipe Dream, which actually came back for the season, and I got through it in just 45 seconds. I was stuck there for over 2.5 minutes last time. I finally make it through, but I'm feeling great. I even look over at my family and give them the thumbs up to show that I'm all good. Remember that first video we watched? That was this moment right here. I make it to the final obstacle. I make it to the final throw. And I catch it. I start shaking my head in disbelief as I throw to the dismount and hit the buzzer about 100 times before I just collapse to the ground crying. I finally did it. I have a chance to climb that tower for $1 million. And I think it's about time we watch it.
I don't know why I'm standing in the ready position, man. I'm like nervous. I'm feeling it for him. Here we go. Oh boy, now he's using all arms.
Not even using the lower body. There it is. Well, we'll see as Vance Walker, Vance climber. He is explosive.
And that boy's got good rhythm. He's not slowing down at all.
Oh, what does he have left?
Man, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He's right there.
Vance Walker has done it. A full second faster than Daniel Gill. Vance Walker hits the buzzer on stage 4, and it may have just won him $1 million.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the greatest moment of my life. Years of training, years of failing, and years of being told that I'd never be able to do it. And I finally made it. This impossible goal that only 2 people before me had ever accomplished. It was mine. And then the next season I came back and did it again, and I'm the only person to ever win American Ninja Warrior twice. If I can go from being told that I might never even be able to walk to being the most successful person in the history of my sport, What's stopping you? I'm not special. I actually started below all of my competitors. No, the only thing that set me apart was mindset. I knew what I wanted. I had my why, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. Now, cerebral palsy isn't something that can just go away. I still struggle with it every single day. This isn't just a story of overcoming an obstacle. It's a story of fighting for what you care about every single day, no matter how difficult it is or what stands in your way. I had an impossible dream. Impossible even without cerebral palsy. But I made the impossible probable, and I won 4 out of 6 seasons that I competed in where nobody else even won 2. There's still days where it hurts too much to walk. Days where my legs are twitching so bad I can't even sleep. That actually happened last night before coming here. And I even had to have surgery on my hip about a year ago, and I wasn't able to walk for months and had to relearn how to, and I'm just now able to start training again. But my story doesn't end there. I'm still fighting for what I love. And I'm training right now to come back and hopefully win it again in the future. And I'm also trying to speak and share my story as much as I can to inspire others to do the same. When I was 17 months old and got my diagnosis, I didn't know that I was going to be an athlete. But I knew I wasn't going to give up. I knew that God had bigger things for me. He gave me dreams the size of Texas for a reason. And that's all I want you to take out of this. I want you to find the obstacles in your life and never give up on them, whatever it takes. Thank you, and thank you for your service.